For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand-in-hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
In every deliberation, we must consider that the impact of the seventh generation, great law of the Iroquois Nation. When it comes to making important decisions, Indigenous people have always thought 7 generations ahead as a way to ensure our survival as people. Getting the COVID vaccine protects you and your family and future generations. Help protect the herd by getting vaccinated today. This message is brought to you by McGinsey Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 1 above 0, wind chills down to 12 below 0. Then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 16.
This is Angela Warner with Warner Stellian. If you've got a broken appliance or one you wish would break, don't settle for poor selection and don't pay a penny more than you should. Warner Stellian has thousands of in-stock appliances, plus save an extra 5%. Shop now at warnerstellian.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
Good day to be Indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. Hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Alliance Energy, powering beyond.
Also, the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association invites you to their annual meeting taking place over Zoom on Tuesday, February 22nd at 6:30, featuring speakers Michael A. Gozi, CEO of American Indian Community Development, as well as Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Superintendent Al Bangora. They will discuss the annual report of MPNAIS activities and projects during 2021 and talk about their partner organization, upcoming initiatives, and more. Visit midtownphillips.org for more information. That's midtownphillips.org for more information and link to the meeting place at Zoom. That was a mouthful. Hey, how did I do, Wendy?
Fantastic.
You're too kind.
I
Okay,
was
I'm
going to
worn
say
out.
maybe we should have given it to Ogama to read.
She was she was willing. We'll make you read it tomorrow. How's that, Wendy?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Cool. Hey, so how's the weather there? I mean, you're
It was
still
nice today. Tomorrow's going to be like almost 60 degrees, and then rain in the evening. So I'm hoping to get Lily. She's my little great niece who's 3 months old, who I'm here taking care of. Hopefully, we'll get her out for a nice walk.
Wow. Oh, well, I'm jelly because it's going to be below zero here in the Twin Cities. So
Sorry to
boo
hear
boo.
that.
Yeah, you look sorry. All right. Hey, Wendy, let's go with where you don't hear this news anywhere else. Let's go with Ogama with the news on Native Roots Radio.
Bonjour, Anin, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuakwe. I'm a member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota. And as always, I bring you some news here on Native Roots Radio. I'm keeping it close to home today. Lots of local or statewide stuff going on here in Minnesota. Quick reminder that if you were part of the Stop Line 3 movement or have a story to share about the Stop Line 3 movement, visit line3anthology.org to submit to a collection of stories and artwork and kind of just about anything you can think of that's going to be sent out to water protectors. There are some people who are from the movement who are going to be working on that, and they do have help if you need help writing your story and those kinds of things. So again, go to line3anthology.org to submit your art or story to the Stop Line 3 movement collection that's being built right now. Also in Minnesota, you want to remember to go to protectmnforest.org. If you don't know yet, the Huber engineered wood plant is set to take over northern Minnesota, affecting, I believe, 5 Native American tribes and set to become the 12th largest producer of pollution in the state of Minnesota. So make sure you go to protectmnforest.org to find out what you can do to say no to the Huber engineered wood plant. That stuff is really, really toxic. I think they call it OSB is the common term for it. So it's shredded wood chips. They log and shred it and then mix the wood with a bunch of glue, and the dust and the leftovers from that glue is it's highly, highly toxic, and it settles all over the land and in the water. So that's definitely something that we want to remember not to have happen here in Minnesota. In other local-ish news, I'm sorry, got one more thing here. The online Hemp 101 class through Winona's Hemp started yesterday. So their class is running Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. over Zoom. That's Central Time. And it runs February 15th, which was yesterday, until April 27th. So this is a fully online course. So even if you're not in Minnesota, if you are interested in learning the basics of hemp, Hemp 101, Winona's Hemp class can help you with that. The class is called Hemp, the New Green Revolution, or Hemp 101. It's an overview on the history of hemp uses, industrial hemp cannabis prohibition, and the current status of cannabis legalization and cannabis use in the U.S. as well as across Indian country. You can sign up for that class at winonashemp.com under the events tab. But the really big thing that we're all talking about here in Minnesota, Robert, what's the big thing everybody's talking about over here?
I would say the college, Augsburg.
Oh, yes, Augsburg. So, Augsburg University in the Twin Cities, or in St. Paul, I should say, is launching an American Indian Recognition full tuition program this fall. And that is to support and promote the importance of American Indian students on campus. This is directly from Augsburg's website. So basically, they're jumping on board with other states that have enacted laws to provide financial aid to American Indian students, including, I believe, the U of M has several campuses now across Minnesota that also offer free or reduced tuition for Native American students as well. Am I right on that, Robert?
Yeah, I think it's all Minnesota. Minnesota. Sorry, just a second here.
Oh, we have an echo today. Um, while we're thinking about that, yeah, Minnesota-based colleges also have this tuition program that would allow students under a certain amount of whose families make under a certain amount of money, and I believe the amount is pretty high, like $100,000 or $120,000 a year, which is a pretty high amount of money for people in Indian country generally as well. If your family makes less than that, or if you make less than that, if you're an adult student, then you could qualify for a portion of your tuition completely covered or all of your tuition completely covered, depending on where you are on that scale, which tends to be a better deal than the federal FAFSA program for a lot of American Indian students. The program at Augsburg is going to define American Indian students as an enrolled member of any federally recognized American Indian tribe, Alaskan Native village, or Canadian First Nation, or a direct descendant, a child or grandchild of an enrolled or tribally verified member. The student does not need to be a Minnesota resident or established residence on trust land to participate, which is really great for Augsburg as well. I believe Ruben Stately goes there. He also known as Keto. We've had him on the show.
Mhm.
He's a young musician, and I believe he's attending Augsburg, if I remember right. So,
There's quite a few Native Americans, and I know Misko was, and she'll be heading back there. So yeah, there's quite a few Native Americans. They have a great Native American program there at Augsburg in Minneapolis.
yes, I hear that it's really, really good. So yep, and I just found the total here. Sorry, it's 125,000. So family incomes under 125,000, the program will fully cover any and all remaining tuition and fees after state and federal financial aid that you may qualify for. So you do have to fill out a FAFSA, but the program will cover anything remaining after that, so you won't have anything out of pocket. So that is just absolutely amazing, actually, that we have that happening. And Robert, Wendy, you're just right around the corner from Augsburg, where you're at, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Augsburg's very, 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 very close to us. Yes.
Wendy's not in Minnesota right now.
No,
No.
I'm
Oh,
not,
that's true.
but I
That's true.
am when I'm.
The other big thing that everybody in Minnesota is talking about, that we're going to have Ernest Oppegaard-Peltier talking about on the next segment here, is Minnesota redistricting. We've got a redistricting map that needs some talking about because it's a big deal for Indian country. So we'll have more with that with Ernest when we get back.
Perfect. And then also later on in the show, Bob Blake from Red Lake and Wendy giving us updates on our sacred animals. It's thank you, Ogma. Great segment as always. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org. Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions, When we relearn our values.
When we live our teachings.
Respecting our elders.
Cherishing and honoring our children.
When we honor and take care of our spirit.
There will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, awesome. I got a little text from the mothership. There's a misprint here on the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association meeting. It is at 6 on February 22nd. And again, that's visit midtownphillips.org for more meeting information. So now that I got that straightened out, I feel a little weird, Wendy. I don't know what's going on here. I'm off half a click here. Can you tell all the way from New York?
What else is new, Robert?
Hey, I love you too. Miss you. Hey, so our guest right now is Ernest Oppegaard-Peltier. And
Oppegaard. It's
Ernest,
Oppegaard.
I'm sorry. We want to talk a little bit about redistricting and what's happening up in the deep north. Welcome, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
No worries. As you know, everyone knows my name by now. It is a mouthful. It's Ernest Joseph Oppegaard-Peltier III. The Oppegaard is my husband's last name, and we took it on as we got married. A little bit about the redistricting. You pulled me on for the redistricting. After the state legislators punted the redistricting to the courts, which is done historically to reflect maps that would account for the least amount of resistance from both of the parties. A process which is really not best practices that reflects the rapidly changing demographics here in Minnesota. So, I'm not a big fan of having courts weigh in on our redistricting process, but to avoid all those lengthy legal battles, not to say there's not going to be, but to avoid the most of them, we historically punted over to the courts and let them deal with it. In a court order dated June 30th, 21, Minnesota Supreme Court Chief Justice Lori Gilda, excuse me for butchering that name, she appointed a panel of 5 judges to hear cases related to the legislative and congressional redistricting based on the 2020 census. They heard from local groups, they brought in different demographics, and they've Common Cause of Minnesota has been a really big push on making sure that the racial demographics are represented within this process. Unfortunately, since it is a court, they're not able to actually go in and totally redistrict a map on how it typically would be. So we get more of a more conservative, more cautious approach when we go through the courts, rather than actually having it represent the communities that live in those areas. Yesterday, the Minnesota Redistricting Panel approved of a map that has been floating around the internet for both the federal congressional seats and then also the state positions here in Minnesota. Both parties have the ability and most likelihood that they're going to challenge this map from the courts, which is something that my libertarian candidate, opposing candidate from the 7th, Bull Johnson, pointed out. The current map takes both of the DFL candidates from the 7th and puts them into the 8th, leaving the 8th without a DFL candidate. The event tonight from Common Cause Minnesota, they're discussing how the 6th, the 7th are heavily leaning to the red, putting Democrats at a huge disadvantage. But overall, the plan that was proposed from Common Cause and their allied organizations, they put out that 9 major BIPOC districts in the House plans and about 5 of them in the Senate plans. The court met those numbers. So, I mean, there's not going to be a huge resistance from the people of Minnesota on how this map came out, at least not how I see it happening. This rule does put our campaign for U.S. House into Minnesota Congressional District 8, along with the 7 Chippewa bands of Minnesota, affirming that any candidates from the 8th should have Native American interests at the forefront of their campaigns. From the plan previously mentioned, the 8th ratio between blue and red, they're actually more balanced, so 50-50 kind of bit. As the sole Anishinaabe on the ticket, who has been dedicated to bringing treaty sovereignty, tribal interests, and labor to the table, our campaign actually holds the strongest standing within the 8th to bring our voice to that table, along with our allied communities, our tribal members, and to bring that to the national conversation in the U.S. House of Representatives. As for the lower state lines, the plan from Common Cause Minnesota proposes about 24 opportunity for BIPOC districts, over about 30% in the House plans, and about 10 in the Senate plans. So it's not as equal as we'd like in the lower races, but the court has came close to meeting these benchmarks, with about 22 district opportunities being grabbed in the House and about 10 in the Senate. A colleague of mine on her Twitter feed earlier today reminded us that, you know, we might be excited about these changes. You know, the 8's going red, and not as Republican red, but it's going Indigenous red. You know, that's exciting. But she reminded us that, you know, don't forget about our long-standing leaders. One of, you know, the ones that are close to our hearts now. You know, they're facing hurdles that they haven't had to over the last decade. Leaders like Mary Kunesh and Heather Keeler, you know, they're going to face more challenges, and they need our support to maintain their seats. Going down to the local level, redistricting will impact many of our local county commissioner districts and city councilor wards. Some will face re-election during the middle of their terms, which, you know, is a bit of a shock to them because they just ran in 2020. But that may turn out in our favor if we have the locals that are willing to step up and grab those seats from folks that aren't representing our communities well enough.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to remind, you know, folks that are listening that our campaign is corporate free and big business money free, so we can best serve our communities. And we have 3 simple campaign planks that the majority of Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents get behind, and that's Medicare for all, legalizing cannabis, and expanding Social Security. Mm-hmm. We need your donations to break up this corrupt corporate stranglehold and bring the 8th back to the hands of the people. You can donate to our campaign at ejop3.com. I'm Ernest Joseph Oppegaard-Peltier III, running for U.S. House Minnesota Congressional District 8 against corporate Pete Staubert. Do you have any questions?
No, but I really, really appreciate that. Again, before our segment's almost over, I want you to repeat your site too. It's exciting. I don't know. I feel better about District 8. I don't know. I think we can get rid of Pistol Pete out of there. I really do. And we got more Native people, and we want to rock the vote Native style again this time around, Mr. Peltier.
You know, I helped out on that GOTV effort back in 2020. We helped turn out over 9,000 new Indigenous voters. I'm excited what this is going to bring us, because we're fighting for our tribes here in Minnesota. And that comprises of now all of Congressional District 8, which solidifies the Indigenous voting strength within that district. It's going to turn out to be similar to Representative Sharice David's district, which is solely focused on Indigenous interests. And speaking of our sister, Miss Davis, she is 1 out of 4 congressmen that we have and that are actually Native Americans sitting right now. And out of those 4, 3 of them are Republican, So we need help with Miss Sharice Davis. She needs some backing, she needs support, and we need more Indigenous strong candidates coming out and getting elected.
Absolutely. And Sharice's Ho Chunk, we just want to throw that in there too. Ho. And she does need help. And she's also having some issues here in redistricting in her town. And I don't know what the update is, but it was there was a big chunk of her big voting block was being taken away from her. So we're going to have her on the show too, Mr. Peltier. And give out your site again, please.
That's EJOP3.com. EJOP3.com. Ernest Joseph Oppegaard-Peltier III. And when you have Representative Davis on, I would like an invite for that too.
Oh, wow. Well, we appreciate you. We will invite you, and we appreciate you always being here for us. And we are definitely here for you. And I really, really appreciate you stopping in and talking about the redistricting in a Native perspective, which we really needed. And I really appreciate that, Mr. Peltier.
Well, miigwech for the space.
Pinigigi, thank you so much for being on. Hey, up next, we have Bob Blake from Red Lake, which is the Solar Bear News with Solar Bear. Absolutely. And he's a big supporter, and he talks about you a lot, Mr. Peltier.
Oh, give a big old miigwech to Bob Blake. I love that, man. I hope to get more funding for Solar Bear and other climate organizations and companies across Minnesota Congressional District 8, which he is a part of now.
Perfect. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Children's Minnesota raises up children's health by raising the standards, hands, voices, the bar, the stakes, the questions, and the curtain on raising kids' health to the highest priority. With the most pediatric experts in the upper Midwest, we're setting the stage because kids need us, all of us. So let's raise them up so every kid can reach their best health. Children's Minnesota, the kid experts.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Hi, Minnesota. This is David Packman. You can hear my show every weekday at 2, right after Tom Hartman on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Don't let COVID spoil winter fun for your family. Get a vaccine or booster. COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, free for everyone, and are now available for anyone over the age of 5. Booster shots are also recommended for everyone 12 and older if it's been more than 5 months since your previous vaccination. To get more tips, schedule your vaccine, or get tested, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. That's ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
Hey, it's Tom for All Energy Solar. You may know that All Energy Solar can make your home energy efficient, but what about businesses, both big and small? All Energy Solar has been helping the business community with full-service clean energy solutions for over a decade. If you run a business, you know how important it is to keep expenses under control. And one expense you'll always have are utilities. So stop renting your energy from the utility company because the rent keeps going up. Instead, cut those utility bills and switch to All Energy Solar so you can invest those savings in what your business does best. Hundreds of businesses have taken control of their energy expenses with All Energy Solar. And with significant federal and local incentives available, it's a better time than ever to cut your utility bill and become more energy efficient with All Energy Solar. Get a free no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists today by calling 800-620-3370 or visiting allenergysolar.com. That's allenergysolar.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 1 above 0, wind chills down to 12 below 0. Then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 16. Nightingale at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant. Now open daily from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with their full menu available until midnight. Check them out today at nightingalempls.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Well, Wendy, today I did a pre-record with Bobby Wilson that will be playing probably next Tuesday. It was great talking to him, star of Reservation Dogs, writer, and also he was a writer, and now he's just a performer, which is a big deal with Rutherford Falls. So they just got done with Rutherford Falls, Wendy, and now they're going into in another week. They're going to go in shooting for the second season of Reservation Dogs. So that was really fun talking to Bobby, and he called me Choka Pilot again, and he's really a stitch, and you guys will all enjoy it. So, but without further ado, let's get with Solar Bear with the Solar News, and that's starring our friend Robert Blake. And thank you so much for coming on and speaking your truth.
Hey, who's this? Reservation Dogs was on?
No, I interviewed today Bobby Wilson, who's on Reservation Dogs and a writer for Reservation Dogs. And he's been on our show before, and he's from St. Paul. He went to Harding, and he worked, or I should say he lived in Young and worked in Young, and he's one of the 1491 comedians, and he was also in Rutherford Falls. He played the casino guy. I don't know if you saw that show, Bob, but he's blowing up, and so is our friend. Well, a lot of our friends are, but yeah. And so I pre-recorded it.
Oh, that is so cool, man. We've got so much talent here in the Twin Cities. I mean, that do so many incredible things that, it's crazy. Like just all of the people that you wouldn't think that comes out of this area, you know what I mean? And get national, attention and stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
Like yourself.
Hey, well, hey, listen, Robert, I wanted to talk real quick about the solar that was, that wasn't or was, but, the Super Bowl happened recently. And I was looking at all the stadiums. Now, Minnesota Vikings is not one of them, but did you know that the stadium with the most solar is the Philadelphia Eagles?
Wow.
They have enough solar around their stadium and on their stadium to power their what they need. 33% of their electricity. They cover 33% of their bill with all the solar. And they said that because they have a bunch of solar in their parking lot, the canopies, that's what helps with the snow and everything in the wintertime.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, I just got to give Target Field a shout out. and they have that recycling the water. So when they water the baseball field,
Oh yeah.
So I got to give our home team, not so much the Vikings, but definitely the Twins, a little shout out there, Bob.
Yeah. Now, so what U.S. Bank Stadium is doing is they're buying renewable energy from the garden that is called the North Star Solar Project out by Forest Lake.
Oh.
So that's where they're getting a bunch of their power from. So, they're saying that they're like, are part of the renewable energy, but it would have been really cool. I mean, honestly, if they just would have covered that stadium with a bunch of solar panels. I mean, it seems like they've been having problems with it too. I mean, with the construction around it, you know what I mean? So
I definitely do, and that's a hot button for Wendy and I because it's also over a migration area, and it's killing birds by the hundreds every minute we talk.
Yeah, that's the other part. Yep, exactly. And we need the birds. I mean, they're part of the ecosystem, and I mean, it's all like we say in Native way, it's all related. So. Hey, Robert, another cool story that came out the last couple weeks here, or last week here, I think, is that President Biden announced that they're going to install 400,000 electric vehicle chargers between now and 2030. 400,000. Wow. Now, to put this in perspective, Robert, it looks like, right, that electric vehicle chargers, Robert, are going to outnumber gas stations very quickly and very soon. There are 150,000 fuel stations around the country with 110,000 electric charging stations, and they're going to be passing it up very soon. But Biden's plan is to put these like every 50 miles.
Wow.
You know. So I don't know if he's going to do that, but I think that having more and more car chargers out there is going to allow us to adopt and to switch over. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And how long does it take to charge a car with the batteries nowadays? Do you know, generally speaking?
In the fast chargers, you can get it done in 15 minutes. And then, of course, if you got the level 2s, it can take upwards of a couple hours. So when we're actually planning this EV network, we're planning on putting these level 2 chargers like at the casinos, right? So people can like go in, spend a few dollars, visit the gift shop. I think we're gonna probably be putting in level 2 charger at Winona's hemp farm.
Nice.
Because people can go in and they can visit Winona's hemp place, but and then the fast chargers are like 15, and those will be more like at the convenience store, like at the grocery store and stuff like that, where we're going to install those at. So
awesome.
That's what we plan on working that. And then Robert, I don't know if you saw this really cool commercial, but 1.21 gigawatts. Do you remember that?
No.
That was from Back to the Future with what's his name, with Michael J. Fox, and they're coming out with an electric DeLorean, Robert. They're going to be building the DeLorean again. Remember John DeLorean? He got caught selling cocaine to pay for his car company.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. He was a big shot. He helped design the Mustang, didn't he? And then he started his own company.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he's going to come out with a DeLorean, and it's going to be electric. This is going to be
still alive.
Cool.
I didn't even know John DeLorean was still alive.
Well, no, John DeLorean's not alive anymore, but the car company got purchased by some other people, and they're going to come out with an electric DeLorean. I think this is genius, Robert.
You were talking about the Super Bowl, and I thought you were going to be talking about the young soprano actors that were tooling down where Wendy used to live in New Jersey. and they had all those cutaways like in the music of The Sopranos, and then it was them, and they plugged in their car. It was pretty awesome.
Forget about it. All right, forget about it. Hey, Wendy, come on. You get fresh with me. Yeah. Did you see that commercial? That was awesome. And what's really cool is that Silverado is going to be coming out not this year, but next year. And so they're already taking orders for this vehicle, and it's going off the charts like the rest of them. I'm sorry, but you know what, Robert? Building Line 3 is going to go down as one of the stupidest things that anyone could have ever done.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for many reasons, but it's obviously that the government and the car companies are ahead of what people want, as you bring up every week.
Well. Let's remember now. I mean, when we introduced the intertribal EV network, 2 days after that, Pete Buttigieg came out with the Department of Transportation's plan, and then a week after that, GM came out with their plan, and then you started seeing all these different plans come out. So I was like, to tell people like, hey, we were like first. We're like one of the first people to say that we were going to do this. And of course, people love the story, but yeah, Robert, I totally agree with you. I mean, this change is going to happen, and I mean, oil is done.
It's exciting, and I'm glad Wendy leased her car, and in a couple of years we'll get one of those SUVs that are electric, and we can go back and forth from New York, and it'll only cost us battery charge.
So I mean, I think it's really exciting. My last story, Robert, is Tesla. They're coming out with these new shingle roofs, so your whole roof is going to be like a solar panel, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about these will eventually be on new building homes. So like new homes that will be built, they're going to be having this on top of the new build home. So it'll be like a requirement. So I don't know where that's going to go, but I think it's smart.
Yeah, definitely. And when you talk to what's his name that runs Tesla, tell him that we need hemp batteries. Don't be coming up here and getting our stuff up here.
Yeah, and I mean, and when you think about Robert, like when you think about like what does all this, like we're having inflation right now, and what does the possibility of war and the rising fuel costs and everything. Honestly, I feel like this is all just going to push people towards electric vehicles and solar ways of cutting costs, because these are going to be the most easiest ways for people to cut costs. And I mean, in one aspect, this is really bad for everything that's happening, but on the other way, it might just be something that's good for us.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Drop the microphone. Another great segment from Robert Blake of Solar Bear and Native Sun. We really appreciate you stopping in and really filling us in what's going on in Turtle Island and with energy. Remember, solar, wind, we can do it, right?
Bye. That's the solar news with the Solar Bear. Bye, everyone.
Perfect. We don't say goodbye on our way, Bob. See you later.
Later.
All right. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and up next, Wendy with our Sacred Animal segment. As always, can't wait.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Bonjour relatives, my name is Deanna Sandycloud. I'm from the Red Lake Nation and I live in Minneapolis today. As the weather gets colder, you're probably going to spend more time indoors, but it's important to stay safe and healthy. The COVID-19 pandemic is still not over, and now the flu season is upon us. So protect you and your loved ones by getting vaccinated against both the flu and COVID-19. COVID booster shots have now been approved for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And you're eligible if you're over 65 and if you're over 18 and have underlying health conditions or work in a high-risk setting. What's cool is your booster shot does not need to be of the same brand as your original series of shots. And you can receive a booster shot of any brand that's available to you. Children over the age of 5 are now eligible for a vaccine as well. So let's protect our relatives in Indian country this winter and get vaccinated. Be a vaccinative like me. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. Miigwech Bizendawian.
We use technology every day to help manage our lives. Why not use it to help manage your medications? St. Paul Corner Drug offers several free tools to keep you on track while taking your medications. Use our mobile app to quickly order a refill, or the Meds on Q application, which turns your smartphone or tablet into your very own personal medication attendant. Email and text messaging options let you know when your medication is ready for pickup, making efficient use of your time. St. Paul Corner Drug, pharmacy the way it should be.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Where's the wolf? There's so many things on here. I can't find the wolf. Hey, I want to introduce my awesome, beautiful wife, Wendy. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and she works tirelessly on Native issues. And she's been doing this segment on Native Roots Radio for, this is coming up on 5 years. We've been talking about Native issues, and I know she's got a great update today. And Wendy, tell us your name and what you're going to talk about, please.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani, and that means cares for them. And as everybody knows, I was given that name by my Dega, Curtis, who goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I am a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. This week I've been really concentrating on talking about our wolves because just recently they went back on the endangered species list, which is really great. That means that they're going to be federally protected. But the problem is not all of them are. February 10th, returning wolves in the lower 48 states to the federal endangered species list. So what I have right here is an article that I found. It's actually kind of an update from Friends of the Earth. I get updates and emails from them, and they are asking for money right now. But I like this article, and I want to read it very quickly because it has a lot of good stats and updates. America's most at-risk wolves are still not protected. Recently, a judge has restored ESA, which is the Endangered Species Act, protections for wolves in most states, but Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho refused to protect these iconic creatures. Most of the United States wolf populations live in these states, yet hunts permit the killing of a majority of species in those states. Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho are the worst states to be a wolf. Wyoming allows for a virtually unrestricted wolf hunt. Montana allows hunters to slaughter 85% of these canines, even permitting gruesome hunting practices like baiting, trapping, and hunting on the border of Yellowstone National Park. far as to offer $2,500 bounties for wolves, and allowing for, hold on, I lost my page, and allow for the killing of 90% of their wolves using inhumane practices like snaring, chasing wolves down with ATVs, and shooting them from helicopters. 800 wolves have recently been slaughtered in these 3 states alone. If Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho continue on this path, we may lose our only chance to help wolves fully recover from the brutality they've experienced since the delisting in 2020, all to appease trophy hunting interests in the area. This season alone, we saw critical losses to wolf populations in Yellowstone. 24 Yellowstone wolves were slaughtered when they were lured out just outside the park borders to these 3 states, the most in 25 years. The worst part is that this devastating hunt is legal because these loosened protections. While people travel from all around the world to observe these iconic creatures that represent America's wilderness, trophy hunters in these 3 states choose to relentlessly kill them instead, eliminating entire wolf packs like the Phantom Lake Pack of Yellowstone, who met their devastating demise in the span of just a short couple of months. And there is still so much work to be done in order to restore wolves in the other states like Colorado. In the northern area of the state, there is just one lone wolf left. Restored ESA protections will allow him to remain safe, but he needs a viable pack to survive and thrive. We can't allow wolves in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho to get this dire point before they are protected. They urgently need to be safe right now. I want to go over to the other article right here before I run out of time to really explain why aren't wolves in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming federally protected under the Endangered Species Act. On February 10th, 2022, federal judge ruled that gray wolves should again receive federal protections under the Endangered Species Act. That ruling, though, does not apply to wolves in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, and some parts of Oregon, Utah, and Washington. So why is that? So this is the long story short. The simple answer is that in 2011, Congress removed wolves from the Endangered Species Act protections in Montana, Idaho, and portions of Oregon, Utah, and Washington. During negotiations on an important federal budget bill that year, a rider provision to delist wolves were added to the bill. So by passing the budget bill in April of 2011, Congress removed wolves from the ESA protections. It was the first and remains the only time that Congress removed a species from the endangered species list. Usually, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service proposes such action. The rider also includes a provision that the rule shall not be subject to judicial review. The 2011 rider restored a 2009 rule by the Fish and Wildlife Service that considered the Northern Rocky Mountain gray wolves as district population segment encompassing Montana, Idaho, and parts of Washington, Oregon, and Utah. The rule was overturned in 2010, but the action by Congress in 2011 restored it. Now, I know that sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but what happens, it's called an omnibus bill. What happens if Congress doesn't have enough time to look at all these bills, what they'll do is they'll put a bill like this into a bigger bill. So that what they did was they added this bill to kill the wolves into their budget bill. And in order to get that budget bill passed, they negotiated for these wolves, which is a really dangerous thing. That happens. Sometimes you get these omnibus bills and they include really good bills that help a lot of things and do really good work. But a lot of times the omnibus bill sneaks in these other bills that people don't really want included. And that's what happened. And that's why these wolves are not protected. And a judge cannot even go in and say, no, we're not going to be doing this anymore, because that provision was also put in that bill.
Right.
So
Can
did
you,
I make sense, or does that?
you totally did. Did you see what Nina put up there? She had a question for you.
No, I
You
did
got a
not.
minute 45 left, and the question is it because of the power of the farmers that we have?
It has to do with that. Yes, it has. The cattle ranchers have big negotiation and lobbying power. So they're a very strong force there. So yes, absolutely. It has a little bit to do too with the NRA also and hunting rights. There's a lot of organizations that are pro kill wolf who were able to sneak in this provision where the wolves would not be protected in this budget bill that they had in 2011. So that's why these particular wolves in this area are no longer protected. And I don't know really what we can do to get them protected, but I know a lot of organizations are working on it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's
Wow.
sad
Yeah.
situation. I'm happy that the other ones were put back on the endangered species list. So we'll see.
Yeah, thank you for your report as always, Peeny Gigi. I love you. And wow, wolves now that never bothered any herd in 7 years, Kathleen said. I want to say Peeny Gigi Wendy for speaking your truth and the truth for our relatives that can't speak for themselves. Really, it's heavy. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated and boosted.
Home ownership is one of the biggest financial commitments most of us ever make.